Hey everybody, welcome back to our Wednesday Fireside Chat with me, Natalie, and Evan Jones, founder of Stitch Media. We hope you've had a great week, and we've had a pretty exciting one, I think. We have a lot to talk about this week. So we have our focus is shifted quite a bit from like the kind of freewheeling, more exploration, more concept art oriented stuff that we were doing for the first weeks of the Terrorarium dev cycle to focusing in on the first demo. We're hardcore preparing for that. So if you want to talk a little bit about what that shift has been like from your perspective, or the sort of narrowing of that focus, I think that would be a good place to start.
Sure. I feel like I am playing the necessary villain in that story. Being that I have forced a deadline of April 30th. Mm-hmm. By the end of this month, we're going to be letting people play this game. So if you are going to terrorarium.games or alien.garden, which is our other URL, you'll be able to see URLs. A sign up. Right now, full transparency, we have 6.
Yeah, earlier today we had 6 official beta testers, which for announcing around noon today, not the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay. We put out the link for the first time around noon. So
we have 6 people who are interested in playing it when it's totally free, and we need your feedback. But that is what our April 30th deadline is all about, and it has totally changed the flavor of things around here, because now we're working to a deadline, and there's still a lot to do. We are not feature complete right now, but we are racing to be feature complete by the end of the week. Wow! When I heard that this morning, I couldn't believe it.
It's really fast. Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly some of the features come together, and some of the features take a lot longer. It's really not a one-to-one on that.
No, for sure. And things that I think are going to be incredibly complex seem sometimes to be quite not simple to implement, but at least straightforward to implement. Whereas other things that seem more intuitive end up taking like much longer and require many more iterations and a lot more tweaking.
The nice thing, I mean, we're using Unity, we're building in Unity, and like when you have a game engine, there are some things that game engines just really do already. And so there's some things like some basic physics things where we're like, okay,
just do it.
Just do your thing. Do the thing that you were meant to do. We're not programming it from scratch in that sense. So
we're not building our own engine.
Yeah. So that's been going well. It's made me realize something that I'm happy to talk about today, but we got a problem.
Yeah, a problem seems to be emerging now as we've made this shift. So that is maker mode. So it seems to be the key problem. So right now our efforts are focused not on that at all, but on the design. We're basically making our first designed level. So there's we are creating a puzzle with a specific set of tools to solve that puzzle. It's a fixed finite level that we're going to ask people to explore and solve and play with. So we're starting there, and it seems like because that is our focus right now, this has perhaps made you realize some things about the other side of the Terrorarium coin, which is the maker mode development. So if you want to start talking about that, let's do it.
There was a dream of I mean, I almost have to talk about them as 2 separate things.
Okay.
Maker mode Terrorarium.
Yes.
This is a game that's like, it's a puzzle game, but it's also a sandbox game where you are able to tweak all of the different variables that inform all the different creatures and objects, and let you like create new properties. Like, I want to put these 2 properties on the Mugu at the same time. Let's see what happens. And we were talking about the emergent effects of being able to do that, and that's great.
It sounds really cool.
It's a big ask, but it's not impossible, and it creates, like we were saying, we'll make this maker mode, and then we will build all the levels out of the maker mode.
Right.
And And then there's another game. So if I switch it to the other game,
right,
what we're really finding is that level design is not just like an essential part of the game, but it's also something that you have to iterate on and refine over a long time. Like we already in this first level are really finding that this could never have been built in a sandbox.
Right.
The sandbox, the maker mode that would build the level that we are currently building right now is 100 times more complicated than the maker mode we were planning to build.
Right. So it's not like discrete puzzle pieces that you move around and rearrange. It's essentially recreating the world every time is what you're finding.
And also like tweaking it, because the refinement of level design is like, yeah, sure, I've got this idea. Right now we're dealing with like, there's going to be a water creature and we have to like drain the water to get the creature. Okay, that you could make, but that's, when you just make that on the surface, it's not a good level. And it's because it hasn't been balanced and tested and have the variety of like terrain that you're moving through and like very precisely placed obstacles, because the game needs more challenge in this spot or whatever. It's like you just only learn that by playing it. And with maker mode, you could make that level conceivably, but like there's going to be so much noise in our maker mode, because we're not going to have what the game really needs, which is really, really well finely tuned levels. Right.
So is part of this, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you, is part of this, like, for lack of a better term, a trust issue? Like you're not sure if players are going to be able to iterate out like what a good level will be in Terrorarium to a standard that you think like is good or makes sense? Or do you think that like it's genuinely impossible to build a thing that will do this and work and be fun?
I think it's two things. Okay. I trust that the players are smarter than we are, but but what we're finding right now is that to get this first level to the stage where we're happy with it, it is tens of hours to get it right. And that is a lot to ask of a player in a maker mode to say, look, you can make a level, but we're just letting you know that if you don't spend 2 solid full-time weeks on refining the details of this level,
it's your full-time job.
It's not going to be good.
Right. It's not something you can just play around with for a couple of hours and have something playable.
Yeah, so that's a high bar to set for the players. It's not a trust problem. It's a I don't believe that there are players who are willing to do this without payment.
Right. Yeah. That it's like the amount of effort that would be required to build that thing in maker mode is more than you think somebody would reasonably want to invest.
That's where we're finding it right now. And the other side is that it's the situation where our levels are requiring like kind of out of the box thinking of like, well, why don't we put this part of the level on top of that part of the level? Well, we never even thought that it was going to be 3D right now.
Right.
Like, I mean, it was going to be a 3D game on a flat surface, and and suddenly we're making it more complicated.
Like there's levels and platforms.
And then what that means is that now you don't just need a place where you place objects. You now need like a terrain shaper that is going to like move up and down levels of platforms, and that those need to have connectors, and that there's a logic to those connectors so that the paths can be found, because the path seeking is easy when you have like a blank canvas. The Mugu can go anywhere, but they can't go through these obstacles.
So you just put obstacles and move around them.
But now we've got like this platform and this platform have a ramp between them, and the Mugu can go on that ramp, but they can't go any other way. And that just, it's added a level of complexity that has just ballooned the scale of maker mode.
Right.
And so what we have now is either a gigantic 2-year project called maker mode,
right,
for which we have no budget,
right,
or a pivot away from maker mode, which is possibly impossible. And
right. What makes it impossible?
And the reason is because we are making Terrorarium because of the support of funding agencies that have helped us raise the money to do this.
Right. So we have specific creative obligations.
We have used the generous contributions from the Ontario Media Development Corporation and the Canada Media Fund and the Games Institute and My Tax. All 4 of those that are not Stitch Media are partners in this project, and they were promised a maker mode.
Right. So there are very specific obligations that we have to deliver on in terms of what this game's functionality is.
And we got through an experience before with the game that we built, Rival Books of Aster, which had this exact issue, which is that one of the things that we talked about in the proposal stage, the jury loved it and we got the funding for it, but when we built it, we realized that feature was not helpful or a part of the game for our players and was not building in the right direction. And so we had to talk about that and say, look, I think we have a strong argument that says we shouldn't spend any more resources on this. I know we said we were going to do it, but now it's a bad idea.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
And I mean, it may not always be the case, but in that situation, the instructions we had were like, the reason you got this funding was because you said this. And if you're going to cut it, we don't, that doesn't mean that you would have received the money.
Right.
You lied. Yeah.
Right.
But that's
which is not at all what happens, right? You envision what a project can be and then design a thing and then you start making it and it evolves in that process.
So the hard place that I'm in right now is that I am worried that we're building a game too complex to afford maker mode.
Right. And
that maker mode is a required feature. It's a huge piece of our concept right now. Yeah. Still at the conceptual stage, the game design document includes it. Everything we've talked about has been about leveraging community off of maker mode. And I need to figure out how to have my cake and eat it too, in a way of seeing what we need to do. Anyway, today it's been a scary week. And the scary part is that our levels are looking great, but looking unsustainable. And that's where I'm nervous right now.
Right. Unsustainable in the sense that we cannot continue to build them at this level, or unsustainable in the sense that our potential players will not be able to build them at that level.
Unsustainable that we cannot build a maker mode capable of building these levels.
Right. So is a potential answer a simplified version of maker mode that doesn't have the same kind of complexity, that is to a certain degree, at least perhaps for the first iteration of it, a much simpler version?
It may be that there is kind of a sandbox place that is different than the storyline levels. That's one way around it. Yeah. Of having both at the same time. There's still an open world kind of maker mode, but it's a little less complex than the curated custom built levels. Right. So, I mean, that's probably what we're gonna do. Because I also think it's viable to go back and talk to our partners and say, things have changed and this is what we think we should do.
That we should make this this section much more complex and scale it back or cut this entirely.
Yeah, focus on really tightly designed levels and not open world maker mode style levels.
Okay.
But that's a strategic shift, and I can't make that by myself. And the problem is that we have to get everybody kind of understanding this issue and also like a champion for it.
Right.
So that's the tricky bit, is that there's 4 distinct agencies that all need to agree with this situation,
right?
And that's not going to be overnight.
For sure, no, and that's it's also like a significant strategic shift in terms of what the team has been envisioning the future of this game to be like, as well, which I think is probably the easiest shift to make, right? Like, as the people who have actually been working on it and seeing how the focus has changed and what makes the most sense. Like when you're sort of working alongside that on a day-to-day basis, it's easier to see like, oh, well, our efforts are naturally shifting over here. This is the thing that makes the most sense.
Right.
It's trying to show somebody who isn't looking at it every single day, like, this is why this shift makes the most sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's jumping people into where we're at and the lessons that we've already had. And also, like, the trickiest bit is that, the choice of one or the other is it's something that isn't going to be objectively right.
Right.
That's the hardest part, is because Maker Mode also has its own benefits of
for sure.
People, like a community of creators and like the streaming, the Twitch ability of this project, and how people could be doing crazy things in it. So that,
and video clipping and like showing each other what they're doing while they're building it as well. And that, for sure. Maker
Mode has a lot of awesome parts.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
So it's not something I'm taking lightly. It's just Maker Mode is not capable right now of making the levels that we had planned. And it's because we are learning a lot about level design as we're building. And by April 30th, we're going to need people playing this game to tell us whether these levels work or not. Not just like testing, but like really like deciding, is this fun yet? Those sorts of things.
Right. Are we on the right track here? And so let's talk about the testing maybe or the initial sort of play, the first play demo that we're going to be having out in just a couple of weeks now. What is the feedback? Like what is the version of the game that you're hoping to present to people? Like what would sort of be an accurate description of it from your perspective? And then what is the feedback that you're super hoping to get at that moment, like from that process?
So the first part. I was saying that, I understand that we're not going to have, like, we're hiring animators right now, and they're not joining us until after April 30th.
Right.
And so I was expecting that we would be using a lot of stock elements for, like placeholder graphics that we would be using. And really just thinking mostly about the mechanics, but turns out the team is getting even further and blowing my mind with their capabilities with the graphics side of the Unity engine. And
it's starting to look really good.
And they're creating really awesome things that, yes, are using some placeholders some places, but actually like managed to look very unique. And have custom backgrounds, or what do you call it? Textures that they're painting for these things, and it's just changing the whole character of these like stock elements. So the combination of them is looking phenomenal. So that I think is further ahead. I mean, it is just going to be one level, and it's only going to have sort of 2 different things you can do. So it's very stripped down, but we wanted it to be something that gave the idea of the game, and that involved a lot of the features. So,
and then a clear start and a clear end, and like a win condition that makes sense.
It's a winnable level. So that's the gameplay we're building to.
Okay.
It's looking close to that. As for feedback that we want, I am not going to say that we want a certain kind of feedback. All I want is something constructive. I really...
Right, something to build on.
I mean, if we just get a bunch of people saying, this sucks, like, you know, what are you doing? You know, even also people who are like, this is great. Like, yes, fine, that gives me a little, you know, boost in serotonin or something. But I need the hive mind, you know, talking about what they like in this and what they found confusing and these sorts of, not just troubleshooting it, but like, would you play it a second time? What did you do the second time? How did you play it?
Right.
And I think we're going to have to probably issue a bit of those questions to get answers. But
I for sure envision like a feedback form. Like sending, like giving people who are interested like some time with the game, whatever that looks like probably a 5-day period to, you know, sort of play it at your leisure, and then a short feedback form with very specific targeted questions is how I'd like to handle that. As well as a like, is there anything you want to tell us, like general section.
Well, and that's the other thing is that I want to keep a very open mind in that, because I think we are going to... My hope is that we get feedback that we were not expecting.
Yeah.
Because the whole plan is that as of April 30th, when we are playing this with you, that you tell us things that we weren't even thinking about, and it points us in the next direction for the next iteration of this.
For sure. And the more we can be surprised by that feedback, I think is really where, like if the feedback we're getting are things we expect, then I think that on one hand, like we didn't necessarily need it, right? Like if we kind of
that's
know,
a failure.
Yeah, if we just know what it's like, oh, we know what you're gonna say, you said it, okay, fine. But if it's those moments where it's like we've literally never thought of this thing before this moment, that is for sure, I think, what is going to be the most helpful. For sure.
And that's why I cannot say like what feedback are we looking for. Right. I mean, the feedback I need is that people are playing it, that they don't abandon it the first time they play it.
Right.
Like
that it's not super frustrating immediately.
A second play would be huge. And then any feedback, because that's huge engagement. Answering those surveys, nobody likes doing it. I get it. You just have no idea how, like, we're going to scrutinize those.
Yeah.
Right now, there's 6 of you. Like... If there's 6 people and they write a feedback, like, we're going to look at every word they say.
Absolutely. But also, like, if 6 people fill out feedback forms well, like, that could be a gold mine of information.
Yeah. Well,
like, absolutely.
That's as many votes as are in our office on, any given day.
Right? Seriously. Like, I know our team is growing right now, but, like, there aren't that many of us. We're a really small team, and like very often conversations are like 2, 3, 4 people that are making like critical decisions about like game narrative and direction and mechanics and controls, and like those are the people who are picking that up every day.
Are you doing something as a preamble in the game? Like, is there an opening screen? Like, is there a story? As soon as you mentioned like the narrative side, I realized right now I don't know if we have a plan for any narrative.
I don't know if we have a plan for any narrative right now either. I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. Like I can for sure do that. Like there's how would we? Like,
well, you got 2 weeks.
Yeah, I do.
To get it in there. But I don't know.
Sure.
What
like even if it's just
brainstorm
a short intro video, right? Like or you know,
it could be a voiceover.
It could be a voiceover. It could be a letter that you get with instructions.
It could be a piece of text on the screen, a graphic. I don't know.
Totally.
I just like anything. Right now we don't have any. It's like, okay, go.
Right.
Like the game just starts.
Right.
And so there's a potential for a start screen that sets up a story.
Yeah. Interesting.
There you go.
No, I think so. Well, I think you want to create a sense of urgency immediately with I don't necessarily foresee this level as necessarily being like in the finished game the first thing you play. And it might be, but I think it makes more sense for a play test at this level to throw people in a little bit more in medias res and to give them a sense that like the characters are already established and you're part of the way through whatever this is going to be, like as opposed to like so instead of like, you know, in the narrative we have built where the gardener has sort of is at the beginning of her journey toward the blue ribbon at the Intergalactic Horticultural Society competition, like far away, and this is sort of I don't foresee this demo as necessarily her first foray out along that journey. Right. I feel like it's more. This is
right in the middle.
I think it's in the middle. It's in the middle. So it's probably a semifinal. So you probably, you know what I mean? Like it's probably like she's gearing up for like you know, ridiculous. For the provincials. You know, like this is a qualifier. Like this is important, and you know, it may have something to do like okay, like if I qualify, it could even be like her gardening notes almanac journal entry thing, which is definitely like a thing in space, so probably more like this and less like this, but you know, sort of her like star date, whatever, like if you know, I didn't expect that, you know, she can, you know, have some notes about like the complete like shambles the previous judging was in, and like how, you know, that like Alpha Centauri judge has always been corrupt and everybody knows it, but like she barely squeaked by. She can't just squeak by again.
Right.
This is the qualifier. This is it.
Yeah,
gotta stick the landing on this one. There's no like, it's really gotta matter. So we're going to go for this creature. It's might be a badish idea, but like we're gonna go for something like a little more dangerous that they're not expecting to make sure that we take this one without question.
See,
you know
that's
what I mean?
exactly what we need.
So
you just need to watch this later and read all that down.
There you go. Yeah, now it's been recorded, so I can like what did I say in that meeting? Yeah, in that Twitch video. Yeah. So that could be in the form of a journal entry.
Yeah,
right.
And it's skippable, right? I mean, people are going to dive into the game. I get it, but I think that we have an opportunity.
I think we do have an opportunity
to continually make sure that it's a part of the game, because otherwise, you know, this launch that comes out is like all these other things got features, but you know, the narrative got nothing.
No, it for sure should, and like we've spent so much time on this world building that like matters and is good. Oh, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
It's the letter. The first thing you get is the like her certificate of winning like the whatever, the like
the local
quarter
one.
The local qual. So it's her certificate, and it's like a really snarky letter about like, had this not gone wrong and this other thing, like this is like it is with great regret that the judging panel of blah, 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 you know, visits this upon you. Had these factors not been in place, like, things may have been different, but you won. So just, like, watch yourself and make it, like, kind of play up that snark a little bit. And then you have a third screen that's her entry that's like, we did it, but barely, like by the skin of our teeth. So this one needs to matter. We're upping the ante. We're doing something scary. I think like there's not going to be any doubts next time. We're going to blow them out of the water. And it's just those three screens, and you can skip them all the next time you play through. But there's that like, so you get a sense of the narrative, you get a sense of the competition, you get a sense of like what her goals are and what she's up against. And you just get to really start to dig into that vocabulary of this universe, right? And I think that can probably be done with like, again, like it could be a voiceover, especially for like her
Start
diary stuff, especially her diary entry thing, but it could also just be 3 well-designed screens, right? Where you have a certificate, you have an official correspondence from the Horticultural Society, that particular branch.
Okay.
And then her interface, whatever that looks like. And the last part of which could be a voiceover if we wanted. Right. Or just text, or both.
Yeah.
Or totally both. And I think they can
One day I'll have to tell you the story about me going on the international quiz Bowl circuit.
Oh yeah.
There's a thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the North American Quiz Tournament.
Sure there is. Yeah.
I at one point was the Canadian champion.
Of course you were.
With my team.
Yeah.
But one of the stories is that how we got there was one of those situations where like we were put into the wrong category. So we were so the story is we were undergraduate entries,
right?
Young, second years, and we showed up and they didn't know where to put us,
right?
And so they put us accidentally in the Professors League. Like to compete at like way higher level.
Right, yeah.
And we did terribly.
Right. Yeah, of course, because you didn't have PhDs in whatever, yeah.
And so we lost, and I think we actually won one game.
One game.
Out of like 30.
Sure.
So we won one game. We get home.
Right.
And there is this phone call, very much like your letter, which was a phone call on the answering machine. I wish I still had it. But it said like, oh my gosh, I made a terrible mistake. I'm calling you to apologize. I'm so sorry. We put you in the wrong category. But because you won one game at this higher level, we have decided that you are the winner of the lower category. And just like bumped everybody down one and was just like,
okay,
I hope this makes it okay. And we were like, did we just become the Canadian champions?
That's incredible.
With a like 29-1, 1-29 record.
Incredible.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining.
Yeah, I can see that. I can. That's fantastic. Yeah, I feel like there's having that letter imply some shenanigans is like. Yeah, it would be very funny.
Well,
there you go. So that's what I will be doing at some point in the next 2 weeks, apparently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's got to look good.
Yeah, sure.
Great. What else is on your mind?
What else is on my mind? I'm really looking forward to like playing this thing. So as much as we're going to be releasing the game to everybody, our internal goal is to have something playable by the end of this week.
Yes,
that is our own sort of.
From what I saw with Alex, it's looking close.
It's looking close. Like I think that's going to be hit. So if things continue to go as well as they're looking right now, I think the goal is going to, for our Friday social stream, if we think it is worth public consumption, if we play it in the afternoon and we're like, okay, we could actually show a person this.
Here's the thing, you know what I'm gonna say?
Just do it anyway.
Which is, even if it's bad, I want to hear that on the Twitch stream.
No, that's totally fair. So what I'm trying to say is the odds of everybody out there seeing a version of this game on as early as Friday, not being able to play it, but at least see it, are high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty cool, right?
I think we better leave it on that high note.
I think we should leave it on that high note. But as always, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
This is always fun.
We'll be doing this next week.
Next week, as always.
We're desperate for topics. If you want to know something, please let us know
about this game that we're working on or whatever.
We will say anything here.
For sure. And as soon as this is done, I'm going to put the link to the Terrorarium website where you can sign up to be part of our pre-alpha test group on Twitch. So in just a moment or two, it will be on the Twitch page as well as everywhere else on our social media for you to sign up. But thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you.